right, thank you for joining us for our June Lunch and Learn, everyone. Today we are going to hear from Serenity Grove and John W. Clem House. Before we begin, we want to touch on some housekeeping things. We want to remind everyone that this meeting is for informational purposes only and that board members are not to weigh in on the merits of a provider or discuss any issues with one another at this meeting. And then just as a quick overview of both of these providers, Serenity Grove is a women's 5-bed recovery home. We have the amount of funding that they received from our board in 2022. And they had 12 served that fiscal year. And then Clem House is a 10-bed men's facility. That's the amount of money that they received from our board for fiscal year 22. And they served 50 individuals. And then we are going to start off by hearing from Betsy. And I think I'll stop sharing just so you can have the screen.
Yeah, greetings. I think I know all of you, Anne. I think I've met you at either a board function or a Serenity Grove function. So I'm glad you're joining as well. Yeah, so I did not, I weighed the options and I didn't prepare I decided not to do a PowerPoint. We are at the very, very end of a multi-year long expansion and renovation project. So I'll get to that, but we don't have the house quite finished to put good pictures together yet, was what I was thinking. So if I showed my old pictures, the house looks nothing like that anymore. So I'm kind of in an in-between zone is what I rationalized. But our quick backstory: in 2016, I think the 317 board put out a call to action. A lot of folks responded about whether the need for women's recovery housing in Athens, similar to what the John W. Clem House was providing, was needed. It was, and a group of 6 women became 11 women, and kind of got this going. So I joined the board of directors when it was that group of 11, so not the original 6, and I was on the board for a couple of 2-3 years till 2019. I served as the board treasurer. And when we had a staff, we had originally tried our first year of operations with a daytime house manager, kind of a 9-to-5 position. She was a young woman herself in recovery, and it worked okay. She ended up taking a different job, and I stepped in what I thought was interim, and I am still here. This is now my 5th year as the director. But I guess, we're a level 2 transitional recovery house, serving women in early recovery from substance use disorder. A couple of things maybe that we do, transitional recovery housing at our level can look a lot of different ways. We are a 12-step based house. So women are required to attend 12-step recovery meetings. We ask that they attend a minimum of 5 until they are employed, and then a minimum of 4. But the average attendance is 6 or 7 a week. That just happens pretty naturally. We accept women who have a minimum of 30 days clean and sober, and that is for sure, not the case at every level 2 transitional recovery house. We are primarily taking women who are coming to us either from incarceration, long-term usually, or coming to us from treatment centers. So since, I'm going to say, during the pandemic, we have operated at capacity, which was 5. We're just moving up to 8. And we have maintained a waiting list. And that is, I think, what helped the decision when the state approved this expansion and renovation project. So we've established, the board of directors really worked hard, I think, to take meetings into the local jails, to work with people in the prison system, to reach out to different treatment centers in our area. And now, for the last several years, I on any given week, I'm receiving almost every day, actually, somebody's inquiring, somebody's got a new admission at a treatment center, and they're thinking ahead 60 days from now, will we have an opening? And so our waiting list is typically people who are in treatment or incarcerated or in the legal system at this point. And then it's a matter of kind of prioritizing the order of their entering our waiting list, and then also the the timing of when are they being released and what is the opening, the likelihood. So the expansion project, I know the board knows, so I don't think I need to rehash that, but we were able to move. I think when the Carpenter Hall project was funded separately, we were able to apply and move into a position with state funding. And that was way back 2020s when that process started. 2021, we were working with the architect and then getting the bids. 2022, last year, May 31st, we broke ground, and we're still not quite done, but we're almost done. We do have the much coveted certificate of occupancy. And so we are now able, we will tip up to number 6 a week from Friday. So we should have number 7 and 8 in July. Again, the way we're operating is I am honoring that list, and those are people who are currently in treatment. And so we are working to fill those spots when they are released from treatment. Obviously, if they were released earlier, we could accept them at this point because the beds were ready. I was thinking ahead about this presentation, and really I wanted to emphasize kind of one thing. In the process of being in my position and working with different other service providers in the area, I think if I were going to articulate what we do, I would say there are 3 primary goals, and I will put them in this order and then say they all go together. But number 1, recovery, right? The number 1 focus of our organization is recovery. So helping walk with an individual on her journey toward what we hope is lifelong recovery. Number 2 is housing, which obviously we're providing housing while somebody is on that recovery journey. And number 3 is connection. And I think I pulled this kind of from what my board of directors has always embraced. But the connection piece, it's connecting with 12-step recovery, the recovery community at large. It's connecting with job and family services to get a GED if needed, find out about vocational options, become employed. That means connecting with a bank, getting a birth certificate, getting your social security card, all those things that have to happen for employment. Connecting with the community at large in Athens, because this is our area, recognizing there are many, many ways to be involved that don't involve drugs or alcohol, and that lots of fun can be had. We, of course, are not a service provider, but over the years that we've been open, I was looking at our calendar today, and on Monday at 9 a.m., we have music therapy that has been brought to us for more than 3 years now by Central Ohio Music Therapy. On Tuesdays, we have acupuncture that is being brought to us by someone who has more than 35 years in that profession and particularly had an interest working with the recovery community. So he is doing that as something he feels passionate about. On Wednesday, we have meditative yoga. We've had that for more than 3 years. That one I'm usually writing grants and finding grant funding. We just encountered a mental health therapist who has retired, worked largely with meditation, trauma-informed care. She is bringing a meditation, like a guided meditation, to us on Thursdays every other week. And then once a month, we have a meditative outdoor experience, which again, we're approaching 3 years with that. That's Michelle Greenfield, who has just been a supporter of what we've done from the beginning. She was with Third Sun Solar, one of the owners. So they became involved, I think, just in helping financially support us initially. But the more she learned about our program, she brings a once a month experience where we really appreciate nature here on our own property. And I mention all those things not to say, oh, look at what we're doing, but philosophically, I think that ties kind of to the connection piece that I mentioned, that we feel strongly about helping the women connect with different ways of thinking about their lives, different ways to deal with stress, different ways, rather than that go to pick up a drink or a drug or enter into chaos and drama, which in many cases is pretty feels normal, to learn some different approaches. And our hope is those are generally not required activities, but we have found a really high level of participation, and I'm grateful for those. So I wanted to mention that. I think that that is something else that, as I talk more and more with the women who come to us, who have many of them been in multiple different treatment centers, transitional homes, halfway houses, sober living. They've had a lot of experience. I feel that something different is happening here that seems to be appreciated. And then I would say, you know, our numbers are relatively small. We have served this coming Friday, our 47th woman will walk through the doors. Next week, it'll be number 48. So it's not a huge number, but our average length of stay currently is sitting a little for 2022, it was 5.9 months. For sure for this year, when I calculate it, you know, when this summer, I'm sure it's higher than that. So the 12 that we served in 2022, a lot of that is a function of the construction project we were holding, right? Because it was a pretty massive project. And I'm grateful that the women who were here chose to just stay put. But I think it would have been difficult for us to be having high turnover. I'm grateful that that did not happen, because it was at times, you know, we lacked a front door, or it's kind of comical when I think about what the house looked like the better part of this past year. So I think that's us in a nutshell. Unless there are questions, you know, so we are just moving up. Like I said, next Friday, June 30th, we will welcome our 6th resident, and that will be a new experience for us as we tip up to 6 and then 7 and then 8. So.
Great, thank you. Do we want to do questions now for Serenity Grove, or do we want to wait till after both? Is there a preference?
I don't have a preference.
All right, I will go ahead and get Chelsea's presentation shared then.
I'll have to do a presentation as I am almost 90 days into this job. So being the new executive director, I think I've met pretty much everybody. So I have a PowerPoint and I have notes. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm reading off notes. Marissa, do you want, can I click it or do you have to click it? There you go. So obviously our mission, we are serving males only 18, you know, over 18 who suffer with substance use disorders. We serve all the counties in Ohio, and we also have a lot of residents we see coming from out of state, mostly West Virginia. So we serve all of Ohio and anywhere else anybody wants to come from. So we've been operating since 2006. So for about 17 years, and like most nonprofits, the Clem House was funded from a small pot of money. So thankfully it's growing and getting bigger, and that's the goal, is to continue to grow. And that's in large part to the 317 and then our generous donors that we have once a year at our fundraiser. In 2017, we did purchase another property. So we do have another sober living house, and that is in the Plains. And it's called the Briggs House, which is named after the late Richard Briggs, that many of you know, who passed away a couple years ago. Both of our houses are ORH certified, and we do, like Betsy, we follow the 12-step model and encourage everyone to get a sponsor, attend meetings, and follow that model. So of course, the first house is our Clem House. So we were recertified in April. We were a level 2. We actually recertified as a level 3 due to the hierarchy of staff we do have here daily. So we do have myself, and then we have our house manager who lives here and is on site 24/7. And then we also have a medical director who comes and likes to stop in about 3 to 4 times a week. And then we have our morning meetings on Thursdays that he conducts. with all the residents. And then myself and the house manager also attend. Right now we have 10 beds. So we have 4 rooms, which are double rooms. And then we have 2 rooms that are just single beds. So typically we like to move our senior residents over to, when that 1 bed or that 1 man room does open up, we like to move our senior residents over into that, to the 1 man, kind of gives them more privacy. We do not have a time limit that people have to be here. We like to say 6 months. Obviously, the longer you're in recovery, the better the outcomes you have, but we are not restricted to a 30, 60, 90 type environment. Next. So our other house that a lot of people don't know exists is the Briggs house, which is in the Plains. So that is our level 1 house that is democratically ran by the individuals living there. Since being in this position, I've seen the house only have 2 individuals. So we are trying to become more creative and a better way to utilize that, because we can serve 5 men. So there are 5 bedrooms, each male gets their own bedroom. The way to move over to the Briggs house is by completing 6 months here at the Clem house. And by completing and being successful, we'd like to see them complete all of their step work. So they get through the 12 steps, actively continuing to work with a sponsor, they have stable employment, just being a productive member, of the community. So we are trying to think of different ways to utilize that. We're thinking of possibly opening it up to other level 2s that might have referrals for a level 1 that want to step down, but right now we're kind of in the planning stages of everything. So next. So a lot of questions that I get when people call in. So referrals, we do take referrals from anyone who's incarcerated, so prison, jail, anyone that is coming out of inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment. We do self-referrals. So as far as people that are doing self-referrals, we don't ask for sobriety time. We do, of course, when it comes to certain things, alcohol being one of them, if they are not through their detox stage, we like to see them at least go through a 7-day detox, just because of the level of care that they would need while going through that. And of course, we are more than happy to find that for them and then make sure that they have a place to come after that detox. Like I mentioned earlier, we do ask that they find a sponsor, and they're actively working at least 1 to 2 times a week with their sponsor. And also employment is a big thing. We like to give the men up to 4 weeks to find employment. They typically don't struggle with that, seeing as though we're kind of centrally located to public transportation, and we are close to Richland Avenue. So that's the transportation issue. I know is a big thing that Betsy and I talked about with her being out where she is. It's hard, it kind of limits what they can do. So thankfully we are closer to options. Next. I'm jealous because Betsy has all the fun things going on out there, but hopefully we'll get there. So we do have on-site meetings that are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And those are all AA based. They're open to the public. We seem to have a pretty big turnout for most of them. I know I was not here during the pandemic, but from what I have heard, the numbers have seemingly decreased just because of those reasons and things being shut down. So those are the AA meetings that we do have. And then on Sunday, we do have the NA meeting. Next. So I just kind of threw this slide up there. If anyone has any questions, that's our direct way to get a hold of us. Email obviously is the best for anybody. when it comes to the referral process, those all have been directed to go through Steve, who's the house manager. So he does that phone interview with people, and then we kind of all sit down and see if they're a good fit for the house, and then hopefully bring them in. So he has become more integrated into the process than he's been in the past. So we're hoping that helps build a better relationship with the men coming in. So he's with them more than we are. But if you have any questions, you can call, you can email. That's all I got.